So let's test this then. Hopefully everything's going to work. We may get one or two errors. We'll see what we've got and how we deal with that later, but I'm fairly confident that the majority of it should work. What should happen is that we should be able to add further records to the database. What I'm going to do before I go there is I'm going to delete these, and for a purpose. Like myself, a lot of people have OCD. They don't like things out of order. If you notice, these IDs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, beautifully ordered. But if I start deleting records that I don't want, so for example, this works, I want to get rid of that. Okay, I want to get rid of big mistake. I want to get rid of this valid, so that we can have proper names in there. This invalid. If I get rid of those, then the next record that I insert into the database, hopefully, if it works, will have the ID of 10. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. And that really rankles with some people's OCD. They want to put that right. My tip is don't, just forget it. It's just for the computer to know. You're not really interested in these numbers at all. You will use them, but not in any sort of ordered sense. So try to put that to one side. If you don't, you're going to run into a lot of problems and headaches trying to sort these things out. So let's go back to the Python. Let's see if I can run the program and insert a record into the database. So if I run this, having saved it, let's just check. Yep. So if I run it, there we go, enter person's first name, or let's say my first issue. I need a few spaces in the message. Jason, enter the last name, anything, blogs, and age 20. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it a successful record and see if that adds it to the database. So it says success, the data was added to the database. Let's go check that out. So if I go back to browse, and there we go, JSON blogs 20, number 10. Now that has been inserted from Python using the PHP file in the database. So we've mastered what we set out to achieve. It's a small step, if not a complicated step, to apply this to mobile devices, which we will have a look at later. But even if you don't, even if you stay in Python, you now have the method of adding and reading data to a database. What's left to check is if we don't bother putting information in, see some of the error messages. So let's go back to our Python, run it again. First thing I'm going to do is forget to put somebody's first name in, last name Smith, and age 21. So Smith and 21 are fine, but the person's first name is missing. If you cast your mind back, because we don't have all the fields filled, it should give us an error. However, in our try except block here, we indicated that it was empty. So this might work. It might understand that the empty string is a string and try and put that into the database. So we will see what happens. So if I press enter, it didn't. So that was good. That's worked. We've got what we want. Error, one or more fields have not been filled. We can't really test for missing a field out unless we go back to our code and we don't bother. So if I cut age out from there and save it, now we've only got 2 fields and it's expecting 3. So we can now test whether that works. We should get another message back. Enter first name, Joe. Oh, That's typical Python for you. Joe blogs, there's no age, so one or more parameters are missing. We still got the message because we were asking for it, but we did not send, we didn't encode it on the URL encode, so we never actually sent that parameter, although we asked for it here. So that's one mistake to be careful of. Let's put that back. The next sort of mistake that we can make is, let's change this one. So we made a spelling mistake, so we can't see the file. So we should have a problem. It should take care of that. If I run that, module JB2 Houston, we have a problem, meaning that we got an invalid address, or the web server was down, or your internet was down, but something to do with the connection was incorrect. So that works. I'm not going to go into the unspecified error unless I accidentally fall upon it. We've seen that before. I'm going to try having a look at this fail message now. And if you remember back in the PHP, we had a sort of problem with 0. 0 seemed to work, although it didn't post to the database, but -1 actually gave us an error. I still haven't managed to sort out why. Not overly concerned about it, but I will find out and report back to you what that problem is. So this time if I run it, let's make sure I've got everything right. Yep. Run it. I'm going to give it, so Eric Jones, and he's going to be -3. So that should be rejected by the database. There we go, the data was rejected. Perfect. And finally, if I try that 01, Emma Smith, age 0. Yeah, we've got one or more fields have not been filled, so it's not understood that. However, that's not the correct error message that we were expecting from it. But it's working. That's the whole point. So I think we've just about checked out all the errors. So we've written in Python. The error handling is between the database and the PHP file. We've got no real error handling in here whatsoever, or even validation in here, particularly on the person's age. So if we enter a -1, that's not handled in the Python, that is handled in the database. And I think we'd be pleased with ourselves that we've got a working program. So the next step from here is to look at mobile platforms. So I will also do some API handling from some real API websites, maybe something to do with weather, maybe something to do with planes, and any live data that we can put our hands on, and hopefully that will give you some idea on what you can do with your own projects.